Welcome back to the CryptoWorld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is continuing the major bounce from this critical level of support, as this chart right here is playing out a historical divergence, which I'll talk about in just a moment, while Bitcoin is still repeating history in the short term, alongside Ethereum also repeating history in the short term. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, taking a look at this 4-day Bitcoin chart, and over the last 1 day, we've actually just seen this bearish signal actually confirm in this indicator on this time frame, because this right here is the super trend indicator on the 4-day Bitcoin chart, and over the last 1 day, we did indeed confirm a 4-day candle close slightly below 56,000, less than $1,000 below the point of invalidation for the super trend indicator, the green right here, the green trend, obviously the bullish trend. And the last time we saw this signal confirm in this indicator on this time frame was at the beginning of the 2022 bear market, and the time before that was in the middle of the 2021 bull market. So we still continued the bull market later on, but in the middle of the bull market right there, we did end up seeing basically a decent bearish trend for a couple of months or so before we eventually saw more of a bullish recovery later on. And so, at least based on this signal in this indicator, this is telling us that at least for now, the trend and momentum is looking more bearish on this chart right here rather than bullish. And obviously, I've been saying for some time now, at least in the shorter term, the trend has been more bearish, forming lower highs and lower lows, which is what a bearish trend is. But once again, this signal does not necessarily mean we're going to see a 1-year bear market like what we saw in 2022, because we saw the same signal confirm in the middle of the 2021 bull market, and that lasted for a couple of months or so before we eventually saw a continuation of the bull market later on. And the invalidation of this bearish signal right here on this chart would essentially be a breakout above this high right here. So if we start breaking out above around 69 to 70,000, then in that case, we would essentially invalidate this bearish signal and continue on with the bull market if we break out above this previous high close to 70,000. And that's partly due to this pattern right here that's forming right now, which I've also mentioned over the last few days, which is essentially a descending broadening wedge pattern with a descending line of resistance and a descending line of support. First of all, we've just seen a decent bounce from this line of support right here, which is sitting at just underneath $54,000, and we have this descending line of resistance coming into play at around 68,500 to 69,000. And so basically, if we start seeing a confirmed breakout with daily candle closes, for example, back above 69,000, ideally back above $70,000, then in that case, that would confirm a breakout for this pattern right here and set up a major bullish price target well above $80,000, close to $90,000, give or take. But once again, we first would need to see a confirmed breakout above this resistance, which at least for now has not happened. So for now, while the price is still below this resistance, technically speaking, if we're looking at the trend, it is technically a bearish trend until we actually confirm a breakout above this resistance. At that point, we can start flipping more bullish again on the trend, and until then, the trend is technically still bearish, at least for now. But obviously, as we can see here, during a bearish trend, we can see the occasional pump back to the upside, which is what we're seeing at the moment. We're seeing a decent bounce from a significant level of support, which once again can happen during a bearish trend. And so this was one of the reasons as to why I longed the price of Bitcoin. I was buying Bitcoin, longing the price of Bitcoin, which I shared over the last 2 days here on the channel, right around these lows just here. I was sharing my trading strategy, saying I'm going long on the price of Bitcoin, which I'll talk about in just a moment. But first, taking a look at this chart right here, this is on the 3-day Bitcoin chart. And this white line on the chart right here is essentially the market cap of USDT and the market cap of USDC, the two largest stablecoins. And so essentially, as we can see back in the 2022 bear market, the stablecoins were essentially deleting currency. They were seeing major outflows from the stablecoins. A lot of people were redeeming their stablecoins for dollars back into the banks, which meant Tether and Circle, for example, the issuers of those two major stablecoins, had to essentially burn those stablecoins as people were asking for their redemptions, asking for their dollars back. But then as we entered into the 2023 bull market, entering into 2024 as well, we continued to see the USDC and USDT market caps increase, which basically means a lot of people were sending their money over towards Tether and Circle, and Tether and Circle were essentially printing new USDT and USDC to send to those clients. And so essentially, as this white line right here continues to the upside, that means new liquidity, new capital is coming into the crypto markets from outside of the crypto markets. And in case you're new to all of this, all you really need to know about liquidity in this context right here, essentially the less liquidity, the more bearish that is for markets, the faster prices can drop, and the more liquidity, the more bullish that is for the crypto market. And so oftentimes, in fact, most of the time, we see Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto market essentially follow in the same direction with what the USDT and USDC market caps are doing. So if they're trading pretty much sideways, usually the crypto market's also going sideways. If USDT and USDC are printing new stablecoins, oftentimes we're seeing much more bullish price action for Bitcoin and crypto. But what we've been seeing over the last few weeks or so, over the last month or so, is basically Bitcoin and crypto obviously play out a bit of a short-term pullback just recently here. And at the same time as that's been happening, we've been seeing Circle and Tether, so USDC and USDT, essentially printing a lot of new stablecoins here as more liquidity is starting to flow back into the crypto market. And so essentially what we have here is a divergence between the stablecoin market caps, the top two stablecoins, and the crypto market over the last few weeks here. And usually the crypto market prices here usually follow liquidity. So if there's more liquidity coming into the market, it's actually not unsurprising to see the rest of the crypto market catch up to wherever the liquidity is going. And so just keep this in mind moving forward. We're seeing more and more liquidity coming into the market right now with USDT and USDC printing new stablecoins. And so there is that possibility that Bitcoin and crypto could catch up to where USDT and USDC are heading. But with that being said, taking a look at this Bitcoin chart, and obviously over the last one day, we've seen a decent bounce back to the upside here from just underneath this major area of support, which we've now broken back above, which was sitting in between around 56 to 57,000. And we also found a decent amount of support in between around 51 to 53K. And not only that, we have just recently confirmed a new daily candle close back above this resistance, which was previous support, which was sitting in between around 60,000 to 61,000. So obviously this is a bit of a bullish signal just in the short term, anytime where we confirm a breakout back above resistance. And so right now, 60 to 61,000 should become new support in case we see any sort of short-term pullback again. And as for the next major resistance, that's really sitting at around 67,000 to around 68.3K. And we could find a bit of short-term resistance close to 63,000 based on this traded volume right here in the volume profile indicator. And as I've already been saying recently here on the channel over the last 3 to 4 days now, I do not expect the price of Bitcoin anytime soon in the short term to go below this low right here, sitting close to 49 to 50,000. Once again, I do not expect the price to go below that low at least anytime soon, just in the short term, which is what I've been saying every day over the last 3 to 4 days. And one of the reasons why I've been saying that over the last few days was due to the fact that we were bouncing from oversold territories here in the daily Bitcoin RSI. And obviously the last few times here where the RSI entered into oversold territories, we were due to see a bit of a break from all of the bearish price action, either in the form of a sideways consolidation or a bullish relief. And obviously we're very much seeing a bullish relief, at least over the last couple of days here. But in order for this bullish relief to actually turn into more of a bullish trend, a sustained bullish trend, we need to confirm some higher lows and higher highs in the price chart, which at least for now we have not yet done, but just in the imminent short term for the next couple of days or so, once again, we're playing out a bit of a relief, as I've already been saying over the last few days. And another reason as to why I've been saying over the last few days that I do expect a relief in the price of Bitcoin from all of this bearish price action is due to the fact that Bitcoin is basically repeating history. Obviously not 100% exact, but we're seeing very similar price action right now to what we saw at the bottom of the COVID crash back in March 2020. because as I've said, basically every day over the last 3 days now, we've seen a major crash to the downside, almost vertical to the downside here, as we saw back in the March 2020 crash, and then we saw a huge candle wick to the downside with a decent reaction initially back to the upside, and then a short-term pullback again, but not below the previous low, the initial low right here. And then after that secondary low, that short-term pullback, we eventually saw more of a bullish relief later on. That's what we saw at the bottom of the March 2020 crash. And we've seen basically the exact same thing play out over the last few days. Obviously not 100% exact, but very similar price action with that crash to the downside, the initial reaction to the upside, the initial bounce, a short-term pullback, and then essentially a higher low forming and more of a bullish relief. And we're also seeing very similar action here in the RSI on the 4-hour time frame, basically more of a bullish trend forming in the 4-hour Bitcoin RSI, as the RSI is now actually getting close to overbought territories just on the 4-hour time frame. And so due to this fractal playing out, basically history repeating in the price of Bitcoin, once again, 2 days ago here on the channel, 2 videos ago, I said right back here, my trading strategy in the short term will be to open a long position if we see that short-term pullback right here, which we did end up seeing, a slight pullback in the price of Bitcoin before seeing a further relief. And so I said in my last video just yesterday, another update video on my trading strategy, I said that yesterday, yes, I was indeed opening a long position. I was scaling into a long position. I already started entering that position, but I had more buy orders to the downside in case we ended up seeing a further pullback. And so obviously on that secondary pullback, we did not really see a large pullback at all. We only saw a very slight dip before a continued relief. So due to that, only my first couple of buy orders actually triggered. So I'm only in a very small long position, nothing major. But that's why I scale into a long position rather than waiting for one specific price to hit. Because if I'm waiting for one specific price to hit, either the price will not hit that price and I will not enter the trade. Or if I'm waiting for one specific price to go heavily into a trade and then that price hits, but then the price keeps going lower, then obviously that would put me in a pretty bad position. And so basically, in order to get me the best risk to reward ratio, I scale into the positions. I ladder my buy orders in the case of a long position here. So that would essentially lower my entry price if we were to see a further pullback, or if we only see this slight pullback as we did, I at least get some entries into some small long position. But right now, basically just before I started recording this video, I did actually take some profits off the table from this Bitcoin long position right here. I've not sold other Bitcoin out of my spot portfolio, but I'm just taking profits on this Bitcoin long position that I entered over the last 1 day, 1 to 2 days. And the reason why I'm taking some profits already, not closing the entire trade, but taking some profits off the table, is due to the fact that we've seen a decent bounce over the last 1 day, obviously, and the 4-hour RSI is getting close to overbought territories. And I already said in my last video that that is a sign that I would take some profits off the table. So I'm basically just following the trading strategy that I've laid out transparently over the last 2 days before this move even happened. And also, now that the trade is well into profits, I have got my stop loss above my entry sitting in profits. So even in the worst case scenario, obviously I've already taken some profits off the table here. And even in the worst case scenario, if we just crash right now, once again, I've taken profits, and that would also hit my stop loss in profits and close the remainder of the trade in profits. And so due to that reason, I've also increased the leverage now, because essentially I have pretty much no risk of liquidation now that my stop loss is above my entry. And so by doing that, once again, I'm able to increase the leverage on the trade without really increasing any risk, because that doesn't change the total position size of the trade by increasing leverage. It just basically withdraws some of my margin out of the trade to free up margin so that I can use it elsewhere. And so obviously congrats if you took this trading opportunity, which I shared very transparently over the last 1 to 2 days here on this channel. And I did get a few people complaining in my last video in the comment section about using the last chance in the title, but it's important to understand when I'm saying last chance, I'm not saying last chance for Bitcoin ever, I'm saying last chance for that trading opportunity. Because once again, right now I'm already starting to take profits and starting to close part of that trade right there. So the last chance was yesterday just for this short-term trade right here. And so yes, indeed, there is multiple last chances that we can take here on this channel, because there's basically one last chance for every Bitcoin trade. And obviously I'm taking multiple trades in the same way that there's a last chance for you to get to the airport to take a flight. But if you're taking multiple flights, then there's multiple last chances, one last chance for each flight, in the same way that there's one last chance for each trade that I'm taking. But either way, if you were to follow me anyway over the last couple of days here, you would have made a lot of easy profits in crypto over the last 1 to 2 days. And if you're new to all of this and you want to actually trade any of these moves in the price of Bitcoin or crypto, personally I take just about all of my trades over on Bybit, so I'll make sure to leave a link to Bybit down below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link down below this video to make a Bybit account and deposit on that account, then you can get up to a $30,000 deposit bonus, but only if you use that link down below this video. And also, if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here, which is a massive lucky draw happening right now over on Bybit, where you could potentially win up to $100,000 just by trading crypto using the link down below this video. And so if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out. Once again, first link down below this video. But for whatever reason, if you cannot access Bybit or if you cannot KYC on Bybit, there is also Bitflex, which is another crypto exchange similar to Bybit, but you don't need KYC for Bitflex. And so I'll also make sure to leave a link to Bitflex down below this video as an alternative crypto exchange. And with that being said, taking a quick look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, and obviously over the last 1 day, we took out that liquidity, which was sitting at close to 58,000, give or take, just underneath 58,000, which I said in my last few videos. It's very likely that the price will take out that liquidity. And obviously over the last 1 day here, we continue that short-term bounce to take out some more liquidity to the upside. And so our next level of liquidity to the upside to pay attention to is sitting at around 62.8k approximately. And above that, we have a decent amount of liquidity at around 65,500. And as for downside liquidity, honestly, we don't really have a lot of liquidity immediately to the downside until we get all the way back down towards around 54,500. And another reason as to why we've been seeing some bullish price action here in the short term, which I talked about 2 videos ago now on the channel. 2 days ago, I said that we have basically extreme negative funding rates. A lot of the funding rates across the market just a couple of days ago were negative. And as of right now, funding rates are still below neutral. So they're still effectively bullish for Bitcoin and crypto. And so essentially, there's a good chance that this bullish move just here over the last 1 or 2 days was quite possibly just a short squeeze playing out. Basically, short positions getting liquidated, pushing the price higher, which liquidates more short positions, pushing the price higher, and so on. That is a short squeeze. And one of the main ingredients of a short squeeze is negative funding rates, which I mentioned 2 days ago now on the channel before this move actually happened. I said we have negative funding rates, which is a reason why I'm looking towards a long position. But with that being said, taking a look at Ethereum on the weekly time frame, and obviously on this weekly chart, we're seeing a massive candle wick to the downside right here, which shows a massive amount of buying pressure, especially from this support sitting in between around 2,000 to around 2150, close to 2.2k. So basically in the lower 2k price range, we have a significant amount of support that is buying up the price. And if we're taking a look at this 3-day time frame for the price of ETH, not only are we bouncing from key support, basically the golden pocket sitting at around 2150 to 2.2k, as I just mentioned earlier with this area of support, we're also bouncing from very close to oversold territories in the 3-day RSI. Because over the last couple of days, the RSI got extremely close to oversold territories, and we were starting to enter into oversold territories, but the RSI is based off candle closes by default, and we did not see a candle close actually confirming the oversold signal in the RSI, but we still got very close to oversold. And the last time the RSI got that low on the 3-day time frame was back here close to a year ago, back in around September last year, and that also occurred right around a local low before we were due to see a bit more of a relief in the short term, basically a break from all of the bearish price action. But as I've also mentioned over the last couple of days, even though I've been expecting this relief in the short term, this signal by itself is not necessarily enough to confirm a new bullish trend. So ultimately, in order to confirm an actual sustained bullish trend, we need to see other bullish trend reversal signals, like for example, strong breakouts above key resistance or some higher lows and higher highs starting to form. Those are some bullish trend reversal signals. And a key level of resistance to pay attention to right now for the price of ETH is sitting at roughly around 2.8k, because previously that was significant support for the price, and usually significant support becomes new resistance. And as for support, obviously I already mentioned this golden pocket and this area of support on the weekly time frame, but we should also find a bit of support close to 2.5k give or take, which based on the 3-day candle close, we bounced very close to 2,500. And if we're zooming further into the short term, looking at the 4-hour time frame, we can see that history is basically repeating. Obviously, nothing plays out 100% exactly the same, but we're seeing very similar price action right now compared to what we saw at the bottom of the COVID crash back in March 2020, as I've already been saying over the last 3 to 4 days now. And so I said around half a week ago, we should be expecting an initial reaction, an initial bounce from this low right here, and then potentially a slight pullback after that initial bounce, which we did end up seeing exactly as expected. And then I said, I don't expect that slight pullback here, the next low, to go below the initial low, which played out exactly as expected. And then I said, expect a bit more of a relief in the short term, a break from all of the bearish price action, which so far is playing out pretty much exactly as expected. And I do continue to expect this relief to continue at least over the next 1 or 2 days, give or take. We might not necessarily see the bullish price action repeat that what we've seen over the last 1 day. We might not necessarily see that again over the next 1 day, but I do expect overall basically a relief from that bearish trend just in the short term here over the next couple of days, especially while the RSI is not yet overbought, but it is getting closer to overbought here on the 4-hour time frame. So keep that in mind as well. Because if we're looking back in the March 2020 scenario, basically as soon as that 4-hour RSI touched overbought, we saw that short-term high before a little bit more of a pullback. Not a major crash, but a slight pullback, just a bit of a cool off in the price to reset the RSI from overbought. And so that's what I'll be looking out for over the next couple of days. Once again, a little bit more of a bullish relief, maybe a bit of choppy sideways price action in between, with the RSI trending closer towards overbought. And then if we see that overbought signal, expect a bit of a slowdown from the relief just in the short term. And with that being said, taking a look at the price of Solana on the daily time frame, and obviously just like Bitcoin and Ethereum, Solana has been playing out a bit of a short-term bounce here, especially from major support sitting in between around 120 to 128, and we never ended up seeing that daily candle close actually below 120, so that is still a significant area of support to pay attention to. And obviously just the other day, we did end up seeing that confirmed breakout above this short-term area of resistance sitting in between around 140 to 144. And we've just recently confirmed a daily candle close just above this area of resistance right here, sitting in between around 158 to 161. And so technically that should now act as new support for the price of Solana. But if we were to see a confirmed break back below around 158, then in that case, we should find some support as well at around 154 if we break back below around 158. And the next resistance to pay attention to for the price of Solana should be sitting in between around 170 to 175. And above that, we have some critical resistance in between 183 to 187. And above that, we have more resistance in between 200 to 210. And right now, in terms of the trend and momentum, we're basically in more of a massive choppy sideways price range here. Obviously, in the imminent short term for a while here, we were trending a little bit more bearish, but at least for now, the overall trend at the moment is looking more neutral because we're basically in a massive choppy sideways price range. And not only has the price been respecting these support and resistance areas on the price chart, we've also seen the price basically perfectly respect the RSI with overbought territories, overbought signals, and oversold signals, or very close to oversold signals. Because as we can see here over the last few months, almost every time over the last few months since around end of March, early April, every time where the RSI has gotten very close to overbought or slightly entered into overbought on the daily time frame, that's occurred right around a local high or a local top in the price before a bit more of a pullback or short-term bearish trend. And then vice versa, anytime where the daily RSI for Solana has gotten very close or entered into oversold territories over the last few months here, basically every time that has happened, that's been a local low in the price before more of a bounce coming soon. And so obviously, as I said around 3 days ago, this was also one of the reasons as to why I was expecting a bit of a relief from all of the bearish price action here, because the RSI got extremely close to oversold, and the last few times this has happened, we saw a bit of a relief, a bounce in the short term, just a break from all of the bearish price action. And so if we're simply just paying attention to these support and resistance levels and paying attention to this daily RSI when we're getting close to oversold or overbought, that can basically make us a lot of easy profits if we're trading this sideways price range here. And once again, if you want to trade any of these price moves for yourself in any crypto, check out those links down below this video to get those extra bonuses. And if you want to actually know how to trade crypto, no matter if the price is bullish, bearish, or chopping around sideways in a sideways price range, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.